A huge number of journalists believe that the government is spying on them. Yeah, that's right. Pew Research did a poll of 454 media figures, and yeah, a huge percentage, take my word for it, but we're going to show you some numbers right here, believe that the government is spying on them. That's right. So basically, 64% of journalists who were polled believe that the government is either collecting data on them. Only 34% say that the government isn't. And when it comes to national government security and foreign affairs, probably the most important, that this is where the government secrets are, NSA stuff that we talk about all the time, all that, 71% think the government's collecting data on them. And other journalists, so this is just any old journalist, this is a local TV guy, whatever it is, 62% of them think that the government is collecting data and spying on them. This is incredibly disheartening and scary, and it makes you wonder what these people are inherently hiding when they're reporting because they don't want the government to crack down on them. We know that self-censorship happens all the time. This is a wheelhouse issue for the Young Turks, so I'll go to you first.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm going to be the one that's on the other end of this, but I don't put much credence to this study, and I mean, at least to the journalists who answered. Not that it's a bad study. They asked them, they answered, right? But
so you think it's maybe them being a little self-important?
Calm down a little bit. Yeah, yes, and yes, I'm sure plenty of journalists do get spied upon, but if you're the anchor in WXYZ Montana Local 6, calm down, they don't give a shit about what you're doing. So again, there's ones who are exposing big things or have certain sources that are deep in certain kinds of investigative parts or deep canals of the government. Yeah, they probably are watching you. That makes sense. We have proof of that, actually. Yeah. It has happened. But then the perception now that stretches to what, 64%? Is what that number was? I think maybe 35% of them need to calm down.
Right. All right. So let's get to a little more information on the poll first, and then we'll jump back. All right. So 7 in 10 said they believe that the government has spied on their calls, emails, and online searches. 8 in 10 believe just being a journalist jumps the chance of being spied on. 80% just by being a journalist. That's what they think. 14% say in the past 12 months such concerns have kept them from pursuing a story or reaching out to a particular source, or have led them to consider leaving investigative journalism altogether. So that's what I'm talking about self-censorship, that if you think this is happening, then you might not want to report on a story. So I think your point is well taken. Yeah, guys that are in the middle of the country doing local stories, probably not that important. There also may be an element to this where reporters think that they're more important than they actually are, so maybe that's why the 8 and 10 is so high. But I don't want to discount legitimate concerns when we know the government is still prosecuting reporters. Plenty of examples of this. I mean,
I feel like they're spying on everybody. I feel like we're all having our calls and emails monitored no matter what we do.
Yeah.
And so why not journalists? You know, what makes them so special? I mean, yeah, I think a lot of them sort of fall under the general umbrella of just general, hinky behavior on behalf of the people who are monitoring this stuff. But sure, I think that certainly if you're in a position to actually do some damage or reveal some damning truths, then that puts you in the crosshairs.
So is this Obama's biggest failure? Because it seems to me that we had a 6-month period where we were talking about the NSA all the time, right? Snowden and everything, all the documents being released and all that. And people were starting to get outraged. Obama said he was going to do some stuff. They kind of were implying maybe it's just metadata, not actual, tangible information in emails, things like that. And we're not listening to your phone calls. We're just watching. We're just watching, how long they are. All that stuff that they can always explain away. But who do you believe? So is this really his failure? That this is a guy who came in saying transparent, 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 and by every account, this is the least transparent administration ever.
And I think that was I think his failure was saying how transparent it's going to be. Because, I mean, it's probably the least transparent because it's 2015. It's 08 to 16 now. If any other president was in from 08, from 08 till 16, hey, you're going to be the least transparent in history. Because
just because of the technology.
Yeah, just because of and who you're surrounding yourself with, you're not going to put people in place that are going to not be paranoid and that are not, their job is to think, hey, let's protect this president, this administration, our secrets, our moves by any means necessary. And if a president walks in and goes, no, you're not, you're the head of the CIA, whatever, you're not going to do it, then you go, okay, yeah. And they're going to do it. Like these are high up individuals who have big egos and have power too.
But to your point about the lack of outrage, I don't know that that's necessarily Obama's fault. Did you see the thing that it was a slate or somebody did at the beginning of the year where it was the outrage calendar of last year, and literally every day there was this new thing, some celebrity said something or some government revelation was made. No one has the attention span anymore to stay mad about anything for too long.
Right.
Remember how Sandy Hook was going to finally change, the gun laws in this country? No.
Yeah, and,
we can't hold on to it anymore because there's just new shit in the pipeline all the time.
Right, and we talk about this all the time. So last summer it was, something with Syria, and then we moved to Ebola, and then we moved to Cosby, and then we moved to Brian Williams, and now Jon Stewart. Like, that's just the nature of it. So, but I think they sort of prey on that. Don't you think that the government and the NSA and all that they prey on the fact that we can't pay attention for more than 3 days?
So much so that when people do pay attention to something for more, people who are listening complain about it. They go, okay, enough of this story. Move on.
Yeah.
It's like,
unless it's Benghazi and you're a Fox News user. That one managed to stay aloft for a long time. But yeah, generally speaking, people, if you stay on something too long, you're a crank now because you won't let it go 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want an example of how dangerous this actually is, today, the day that we're taping this, Obama supposedly later today is going to Congress to finally get war authorization. He's going to go for 3 years against ISIS. He's going to be gone by the end of the 3 years. And of course, when they put a timetable, it never means anything because anything can happen and blah, blah, blah. But that means that we've been at war in Syria, which is a different country than Iraq, and we never got authorization all this time. And part of the reason, as I've said many times on the show, is because people get so distracted that you don't even realize. They're like, we're bombing Syria now, and nobody thinks about it. Nobody goes, what?
Going back to your 1984 quote from the previous segment, we have always been at war with Oceania. We can't even focus anymore. It's just like somebody somewhere we're attacking. And
I remember the news used to be, or at least news of a big deal was, we're going to war. Now the huge news is we're not. If the war stopped, people go, oh my God, did you hear the breaking news? We're not going to fight. If we continue to fight, that's just fine.
Right,
it's normal.
That's actually a really great point. All right, so final thought on this. Who do you fear more? Is it the government or the hackers? Because I don't know which I fear more at this point, because both want your information, both can do nefarious things with your information. Who do you fear more?
They're almost kind of molding now. I mean,
and maybe they are. Maybe the government's paying the hackers.
There's the rogue hackers, and those guys, once they're found, they get snuffed out. So in that case, probably the government, because then they have the hackers, and then they're looking to find the ones. I mean, we've got the Snowdens who will tell us what he found, and that guy's, he has no chance. Yeah. So those, I mean, they still have.
You mean you don't want him to come back to America like Melissa Harris Perry said? Come back and face the music.
I like Melissa Harris Perry, but
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they have more to lose, I think. They're under more of a scrutiny from the government themselves. So
Who do you fear more?
I don't know. I always feel doomed when I come on this show. I don't think about this stuff a lot, and then you parade these like robot dogs and spying televisions, and I'm like, we're fucked.
See, you see what I'm doing? I want people to think about this stuff with more than 2 second attention.
We're going to be the end of the world's end, basically, where all of our screens are dead and we're wandering around, starting campfires and shivering.
On that note, don't forget to like and comment down below.